All right, Sunset Rewind back at you, 2026 Boys Volleyball Edition, back with another preview on a Sunset League team. I am Taryn Rodriguez. With me, I have a legend in the Orange County volleyball world, Charlie Brand. How you doing today, Charlie?
Always good, always good. Thanks, Taryn.
Not a problem. Wouldn't want to break these down with anyone else. But let's meet our guest today. He's the newly hired boys volleyball coach at Los Alamitos, Tony Panzica. How are you doing, Tony?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is great.
Great to have you here. Find out some history.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right. There's a lot going on here, so I don't know if you guys know what you're getting into. So
That's good.
Oh,
yeah, fire away.
So you're kind of the new kid on the block when it comes to coaching. This will be your first year as head coach. Last year you were the interim coach. What was that like, kind of getting your feet wet last year in terms of coaching?
Last year was great. It was more of an associate head coach role, at Los Alamitos High School boys volleyball. With Katie Kelly was the head coach.
Yes.
She teaches at Los Alamitos High School,
she's
and
good.
got to know her. She's a great person,
Yep.
and throughout the years of her coaching, I think it got a little bit too much for her, and she wanted to become more involved with her young family.
Yeah.
So it was a good experience, eye-opening, and here I am today.
Is that kind of your first coaching gig, or how did you find your way into coaching?
We just talked about it. He coached with Rocky Girelli
Yes.
years ago. So,
Yeah.
Right?
Right, but on air.
Yeah, it happened after college. I was a newly hired law enforcement officer, a local agency, and I knew Rocky from a deep history in beach volleyball and running into him in Huntington Beach. And he brought me on to Huntington Beach High School as a lower level coach for both boys and girls, frosh off teams and JV teams, and I had a great time. I learned a tremendous amount of the sport of volleyball from Rocky, and kind of the different styles that you could bring into coaching this sport.
And if you're going to be a successful coach, you've got to coach the lower levels first and learn how it's done, get a feel for teaching as opposed to playing.
Yeah, fully agree with you there. Yeah, and that was a great experience, doing that. He used to always invite me on the bench for the matches for Varsity, and I felt right at home, in that environment at Huntington Beach High School.
Yeah.
Had a great time. And
I love it. So looking back at last year, you had such an amazing year. You went all the way to the quarterfinals of Division III, lost to the eventual champion to Sorrel. What do you think you learned the most during that span of time?
Just putting the pieces together for these young men, and what the challenges were for each one of them, and then kind of develop them and help them through those challenges. And we had our run in Division III in CIF. I thought we probably could have made it to Division I or II if we had a better league season, but it didn't happen. This year, we're looking forward to a better season as far as putting the pieces together and keeping it consistent. Last year was a little bit of a I was the associate head coach at times, running the whole show on the bench, managing the match. But then Coach Katie would be off for injury, and when she came back, we welcomed her with open arms. She's a great person to have, around the program, and let her do her thing. And so there's a little bit of inconsistency, but that's no, fault of the players or, the head coach or assistant coach. It's just kind of how it ran. So This year I'm looking for a little more consistency when it comes to, coaching from the sideline and managing the matches.
Sure.
I'll tell you what, it was a great first impression from you all. So before we jump on into your team, talk to us about your coaching staff and who we should know in terms of like names and faces.
This year, assistant coach for Varsity is his name is Chris Comer. He's got a deep history in volleyball. Comes from a volleyball family. He's raised in a volleyball family right now. Matter of fact, his oldest son, Mike, is our senior setter. And, Chris had his playing days at UC Santa Barbara. And before that, he graduated from Los Alamitos High School, so it's kind of like, a homecoming for him, and it's just, a pleasure to have him around. And I've been working with Chris for probably the last 4 or 5 years through club. We came on at Los Alamitos coaching staff together, coaching the freshman team. And like you said, Charlie, that's kind of the way to go. And, looking back, it was just a great experience. And I know it was with Chris Comer as well.
Yeah.
Chris isn't the only one that has a volleyball family. You have a volleyball family. Your oldest daughter, Liv, played for Dave Huber at Los Alamitos, and then you've got Ben and Charlie that's currently in the program as well. Talk to us about Ben and Charlie and all the other returners as well.
Yeah, Ben Panzica, Charlie Panzica, they are returning varsity players. Ben's is one of our setters. He's on the taller side of the position. He's a little over 6'4" and probably still growing and getting to know the position. We may need him to kind of venture out and play some other positions. We'll see. The league plays right around the corner, and we got some non-league matches come up as well. So we'll see what it's in store for Ben, as far as what we're going to need him to do on the court. Charlie's just a long-time libero, just the gritty hustler. Great defensive player, still learning to pass this fast game of volleyball these days, the ever-changing serving and stuff like that. He's doing great. He's been starting since he was a freshman for Los Alamitos High School.
Now, they're twins.
They're twins. They don't look anything alike, but I swear to you, they're twins. Yeah, they're twins.
Awesome. So looking at your schedule, you start off the season against Servite at home. It's a nice little opponent to start off with. I mean, Matt Marujo, a great coach, and always have a great history. What are you looking forward to the most in your first season as head coach, and what can we expect from the Griffins?
Like you said, our first match is against Servite. That's a long-time tradition of playing Servite that Coach Katie kind of enacted, and I really appreciate it. I respect first the institution of Servite. I actually went there for a full summer and about 2 months into my freshman year before I realized it was too far for me to take a bus from Huntington to Servite every single day. Right. And then I ended up at Ocean View High School, to play basketball. But I respect the institution of Servite. I know the head coach. We coach against each other during the club season. So I look forward to that as well, just respectful competition. And, Servite is one of them. Some of the things I really look forward to is, we have some upcoming tournaments. The Redondo tournament is nearby. The Best of the West we're going back to. Los Al, we did not play in that last season, but that's a very respectable, tournament with some high-class competition. And, we're looking forward to doing the best we can there and, giving our effort and competing the best way possible.
That's actually a perfect segue to go into the tournaments. I'm guessing you're not ducking anybody when it comes to these tournaments, because those two tournaments that you just named, the Costa Redondo tournament and Best of the West, those have some ringers like Miracosta, Redondo Union, Corona del Mar, Newport Harbor, and heaven knows what's going to be happening with Best of the West.
Best of the West, we get lucky, actually. I think they closed the registration before I got in, and, I made a couple calls to some good friends of mine, especially shout out to Craig Pazanti at Huntington Beach High School. We coached together on the club side, and, I've known him ever since we were coaching for Rocky back in the day.
Yeah.
But, he put his, 2 cents in to the Best of the West, to the director out there, and, luckily we got in, and I'm very thankful for that. It's just another way to show that the volleyball community here in Orange County and even just the Sunset League is tight knit, and another thing to look forward to.
Yeah, a lot of coaches that have been coaching for a long time, and then the closeness they have is a lot of times because of that competition. It's so competitive.
Absolutely, it's so competitive, and like Terrence said earlier, I'm the newcomer, and I've been known I like to stay back in the shadows and just kind of watch and learn, which I'm still learning a ton. I have my particular people that I look to for that advice and and maybe even style of coaching, and I'm still doing that. So there's not much magic happening here on my end as a head coach, but I'll do my best and keep these young men together and compete.
You do a great job.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. So you mentioned Craig Pazanti and coaching with him on the club side. Talk to us about what you think you learned from him, and what do you like about Craig Pazanti, not just as a coach, but as a person?
Yeah, well, I never said I liked him, but I love Craig. And like I said, we go back a long ways. When we actually both started at Huntington under Rocky, and then through the years, I actually, ran into him again, and my daughter Liv started playing for Craig on the club side, just it kind of grew from there. I ask him a ton of questions, on the sideline when we're at practice, or during matches on the club side. I'll even give him a call. Our text line is kind of back and forth, usually be preseason and postseason. What should I look out for? In this Sunset League, and administratively, he's a big help. He's a wealth of knowledge, that man. And
He's a pretty smart guy.
Greatly appreciate his friendship and his his ability to kind of mentor me. Yeah.
That's a good mentor.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's raising the standard. Forgot to mention that Craig Pazanti did surpass 1,000 wins, so you learned from some great company. So I know your daughter played for Dave Huber. Did you have like a little relationship with Dave? Did you learn from anything from him, or was it just you just rooting on Liv from the sidelines?
Yeah, I was one of those parents that just liked to kind of get there early and watch. I'd grab that seat high up in the bleachers and just kind of watch. And there was no secret that I was watching the coaches as well, because like I said, I appreciate good coaching, and we knew that going into having my daughter play for Dave Huber, and I think she played varsity her sophomore year, junior year, and senior year for Dave, and she has nothing but great things to say about him. As a matter of fact, sometimes I get a little jealous when she starts talking about Dave Huber and what a great person and coach he is, and so again, that is another individual I look to through the years that I watch, and I just kind of learn from the sideline. And now I'm doing it at the campus of Los Alamitos High School, and we've gotten together a couple times and we spoke about things, and he's just very, very enlightening. He's been doing it for a long time. He's been doing it right as well.
I'm always impressed with what he does with his hitters, especially moving them to different positions, doing some stuff that nobody else does. And that's where the game needs to go. We need to start trying different things instead of just doing the same old cookie cutter. And that's what I love about Dave and what he does. Besides his great relationship with all his players.
Yeah, definitely. It's you're right. He has been doing that for a long time. Well, actually, ever since I know my daughter Liv has been playing for him. It's you could tell that he thinks outside the box, and that's very rare these days. And I agree with you, Charlie, that I think the future is going to hold a lot of these thinkers that are looking outside the box, and you may even see Los Al boys volleyball, thinking outside the box, because the certain players that we have, and you want them all to kind of mesh and play well together.
You mentioned Chris Comer's son, Mike the setter. He also has another son, right?
He has a daughter.
Oh, a daughter.
He has a daughter that's a freshman at Los Al,
okay.
And she played JV this past season for Los Alamitos, and I think she just recently made the girls' Los Alamitos beach team, Varsity.
Nice.
She's a great player, and like I said, it's a true volleyball family.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Chris's brother played too.
Yep. Yeah, like I said,
good.
he came from a volleyball family, and he very well is raised in a volleyball family as well right now.
Right. That's
awesome. And Dave did also coach on the boys' side. I remember he coached a couple years. My freshman year, he coached Los Al on the boys' side. That was back when Newport was the juggernaut, as well as Miracosta and Loyola. So, speaking of Sunset League play, perfect transition to go into Sunset League play. What do you think you can expect to see from some of the Sunset League coaches and the players and all that sort of thing? Because Charlie and I think, both agree that it's maybe the best league in maybe the United States in boys volleyball.
From top to bottom.
Yes, top to bottom.
I agree with you, and not just because I'm now coaching in it,
Right.
but, from, anybody even outside looking in, it's just such a highly competitive league of play. I mean, you're getting some high-level players at every school, it seems like, some more than others,
Right.
unfortunately for Los Alamitos, but it's not, there's no secret really what's going to happen with each team. There's really not, because we play club and we see the players, we see how they play together with their club teammates, and you can just kind of put the numbers together, and you know what you're really going to get into without watching any scouting tape or look at any statistical data or anything like that. There's a couple teams that I know very well.
Yeah.
One of them is Huntington Beach High School,
Yep.
because the majority of their players play club with my two boys and Craig Pazanti as well.
Yeah.
And you could just see it kind of unfold.
Right.
But so there's no secret,
Yeah.
really what they're going to try to do.
Yeah.
Obviously we don't want to give away all our strengths and weaknesses.
Oh, no.
Over the podcast.
No.
But there's going to be no surprises who the big hitters are, and
Yep, and where they like to hit and all that. Yep.
Yeah, their tendencies and whatnot. The Sunset League is definitely a great league. 6 teams made the playoffs last year, which is unbelievable. And you were one of those teams. How much of an honor is it to make it into the playoffs, even as an at-large, just because it's competitive night in and night out? There is no sleepers or anything of that sort.
Yeah, I'd be lying if there wasn't any disappointment, because, and there shouldn't be, really. I mean, Division 1, 2, 3, how it is. It's an honor to go, to these playoffs with CIF. I mean, it's a big, federation, and, we should all be honored. But I'd be lying if there wasn't any disappointment. You want to go to that top-notch spot. You want to, finish the best you can within your league. Last season, in my opinion, we fell short towards the end. We lost a crucial one to a team that we had beaten before, and it was just kind of unexpected. But things like that happen. You kind of move on to the next. Your next play is your next play. It could be another match, but that's what you got to prepare for. And this year we're preparing to put that effort into each and every competition that we get into.
I want to circle the wagons back to your team. Who are some players that have been putting in work in the weight room and that are like flying under the radar that we should all know about?
Flying under the radar is definitely a description of one of our middle blockers. His name is Luke Charlton. I mean, he had a very successful season last year, and he's still going to be relied on in the middle for us. He's just a workhorse. I mean, that kid puts in, 100% effort on the court playing, 100% effort in the weight room, and he's just gotten so much better as well. I mean, believe it or not, he got a lot done for us last season. This season he's going to get a lot more for us done. I mean, he's someone to look forward to, and he flies under the radar, unfortunately. A little undersized for a middle, but at the same time, he makes up for it with his grit, the way he presents himself, and he brings it every day. Every day he brings it.
That's what you want out of a middle, especially. Those guys have to be the hardest workers because that's the hardest job.
Yeah, and it's the hardest job to find someone that wants to play middle,
exactly.
right?
That's so
I
true.
mean,
So
everyone
true.
wants to, jump out to that pin and show their stuff, which is fine. I get that. A lot of tall guys actually went through that.
Yep.
In their volleyball career, they want a piece of that pin.
Yeah.
Luke is just, that's what he looks forward to. He looks forward to playing middle blocker for either his club team or his his high school team. That's
Perfect.
Yeah, it is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, looking at your schedule, I did see a few non-league games. I saw Long Beach Poly and Pacifica Christian. The Long Beach Poly game, do you plan to possibly make that a yearly thing and maybe grow the rivalry like it is in girls, or is that just you needed someone to play just because you didn't want to be on a bye and be rusty?
No, you're correct in saying that that's something we want to look for maybe as an annual, contest. I know the coach over there.
Who's the coach there?
Sid Davidson.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Is he really?
Yeah,
He's
Long Beach Poly we're talking about
Great
now.
Yes,
coach.
Long Beach
Yeah,
Poly.
great
He's
guy.
great, yeah. He's perfect, and I don't know their exact names, but Pacifica Christian as well too. I've gotten to know those coaches through beach volleyball, and I just like the way they present themselves and they present their program, and that's something to kind of look forward to too. And that's kind of the direction I see Los Alamitos boys volleyball going, is having that respectful, the professional, classy attitude, on the court, off the court, and we also want to play, teams that are, similar, or who you seem,
Well,
that way.
Servite's in that same mold.
100%, yeah.
Just class act all the way.
Class act,
Yeah.
I think we spoke about that earlier, and
Yeah.
and those are things I really believe that the student athletes, especially the players, they remember that, they remember who they played through the years, and it's even better that they know why we're playing them. It's going to make them better, not just as players, but as individual.
Tony, it's even more important, I think, the younger kids that watch and go, oh, I want to be like that. See how they are. I was lucky enough to watch at SC Dylan Klein play against UCI. Dylan Klein is the epitome of a class act, and he's a tremendous athlete too.
Oh yeah. Add that in there, right?
Yeah,
Just a tremendous athlete.
Yeah.
That's what you notice first, but then you start to kind of key in, and you're right that it's all about development, in my opinion, developing these young men, or already developed nice boys, turning them to keeping them nice, and do the right thing, and you have these individuals that they could watch, like Dylan Klein, from the sideline, or maybe somebody from Survey that they have never seen before, but they see them coming in off the bus, and they're dressed similar, they hold themselves proper, that's all good discussion, because I think that's thinking outside the box. I mean, we still got to remember why we're here, and
That's most important.
it is.
Yeah, sometimes they lose track.
Yeah.
It's the growth of boys volleyball in the United States has been the fastest growing high school sport. And it continues to grow and grow. And with that comes more and more really good athletes. And so it's just fun to be a part of all that growth.
It is fun. I'm having a great time. I mean, just, how I kind of slid in, at the club level was through Alan Knipe, who owns his own club,
Right.
Pinnacle Athletic Club.
Right.
We ran into each other, and he asked me to come on board and just kind of help out from as a parent coach, not just, hey, you got to be the guy, but we have one, and his name was, you probably remember the name, Tim Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
The Bear.
The Bear, yeah. So my boys ended up playing for, my two boys, Ben and Charlie, played for, Tim Johnson at Pinnacle, and it was right before the season started. That's when Alan kind of, thought, hey, why don't you bring Tony on? He could help you out. Tim's a busy man, even busier now. He's got these podcasts or what have you going on.
Set the pipe.
Set the pipe, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But it was just such an experience to see the talent around when I walked into the gym for, club volleyball. I mean, my boys were only, Tim and I coached a 12s team, but seeing the older kids play, I mean, I really couldn't decide. I thought some of the 15, 16-year-olds were actually 18s.
Yeah.
That's how, amplified the sport has gotten at the high school level, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's just amazing. It's great to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it, in the years to come.
Right. I always look at the 14s, which are 8th graders, playing on a 7-4 net. And a lot of those guys, especially the guys that matured early, are just, the net's too small.
Too small.
Yeah, way too
small. Too small. I think we had a couple of those guys, and through Tim and I, and the next season, where we got to the 14s, and it was common for, I was still just the assistant coach, just helping out as a parent coach, and the head coach and I would raise the net to the regulation, just for our 14s team.
Yep.
Because one, it's going to make them better,
Yep.
and two, it's just not going to get anybody hurt on the other side of the net with some of the athletes that we had.
You see players as they're developing, and you play on a net that's too small. No matter who you are, your arm swing changes. You lower your arm swing. Everyone talks about reach. Well, play on the 8-foot net, now you've got to reach.
Yes,
and
yes.
Forming good habits is really important for that too.
Yes, I mean that's it's a good teaching point.
Yep.
Every the practices that we raise on that, which was relatively often, for a 14U team.
Yeah.
They would walk in and see that net and know they have to kind of rise above and reach for that ball, which
you
is
better get your arm up
so
there.
important at that age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one fun fact about you, and you told me this when we first met at Newport, is that you actually made the All-Star team when Dan Glenn approached you about it. So talk to us about that little moment with Biggs, a.k.a. Dan Glenn.
And that was my kind of first introduction to, Danny Glenn. Was back in high school. I was a senior playing at Ocean View. We weren't known, but we were pretty good. I mean, we were beating the top teams. I think the only team we may have lost to was maybe Edison High School at the time. It's not 1986.
Yeah.
So I'm dating myself.
Is that Danny Hannon and those guys?
Oh yeah, they're just amazing.
Yeah.
It was just a great time back then. But as far as me playing in that All-Star game, I played in a lot of the league matches, played in some of the tournaments back in 1986, and it was just such a nice gesture for I believe he should have been Newport Harbor coach at the time, Danny Glenn.
Yeah, he was.
Probably new.
Yeah, brand
maybe
new.
a couple years in. I don't know, or maybe 1 year in. I don't know.
Yeah,
86, that was
his
Dan. Yeah, that was his
year.
first year.
That was his first year. So, and Newport had the reputation of being, like you called it, the juggernaut, and it was just such an honor for him to, approach and ask if I wanted to play in this North-South game for volleyball. And I had already known about the North-South game because I had been invited to play for basketball.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just kind of a more, a double honor for me to, represent two sports. And I just thought that was pretty cool. And I'll always remember that,
Yeah.
It's one of my few things that I kind of look back and say, I can tell my kids that,
So awesome.
Yeah.
Danny Glenn has been responsible for so many things. Like that All-Star game, he basically keeps that thing going.
I believe it.
Started in the 70s, and he took it over once he got to Edison and really made it something to be a part of. Beach volleyball.
Sure.
15 years ago, there wasn't high school beach volleyball, and he worked and did the whole thing, and now organized leagues. It's CIF sport. He's taken that a long way.
He still does that. I don't know. I'm sure for the fall beach for the boys.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have so many teams that are involved, and for him to take that upon himself to do each and every year. I know he has help, and I think it's Sherry's her first name.
Sherry
that helped.
Fenn,
Sherry
yeah.
Fenn, yeah.
That's her. Yeah, just a great
wonderful.
person. Yeah, and
Amazing.
for those two to really put that together each fall is difficult.
Yeah.
To say the least. And I know my boys at Los Alamitos High School really get a lot out of playing in the fall and playing on the sand and getting those reps in, which is really important.
Yeah.
Especially at that time of the year.
The sand is so forgiving, so you can try things you may not try when there's hardwood below you,
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Expand your game.
So one thing I did notice in the fall is that Los Alamitos has a new auxiliary gym. What do you think of the auxiliary gym? Because it looks super good. It's like state of the art, world class, just lots of space, you name it.
Have you been there yet?
Yes.
The Griffin Center. Yeah, it's a fantastic venue, and we have an old gym, which is great that we could utilize for boys volleyball because during the fall and winter, our sport actually kind of takes the back seat, rightfully so, to some other sports that are taking place on campus, and now that we have this nice new shiny gym with a lot of positive things going on inside, especially for volleyball, that the high ceiling, wide courts, and the lighting is just very fantastic. I've had a couple players actually kind of comment on that. So well, we're excited to to have some matches, host some teams. We keep mentioning Survey, but they come to us next week on a Tuesday night, and I'm looking forward to kind of hosting that team coming into our new. I'm proud of the gym, and I'm ready to show it off.
I love it. So one last thing, what do you think you learned the most from Katie Kelly from her tutelage as head coach?
A ton. There's a lot going on in boys volleyball and running a program. You just don't get to be the head coach of varsity, and
everybody thinks it's rolling the balls out and you just play. They don't understand all the stuff you have to take care of.
A lot goes on behind the scenes.
It's a lot of check boxes, and she did show me a heck of a whole lot. For the last 3 years. Especially the ins and outs. Los Alamitos School District is very. It's black or white. It's you can do this, you can't do that, and which is good for me because I've been a rule follower kind of my entire life, especially the last 40 years of my life.
Yeah.
But Katie showed me those, and she sometimes showed me, on paper, and this is what you have to do, and this is the reason I'm doing this, and. It is all about the student athlete. It's not really about the parents. It's the player's journey, and we have to kind of help each one of them out. It's not just the star players or varsity or whoever's starting for each team. It's you have to really develop a relationship with each player that's in the program from frosh level all the way up to varsity, and she showed me that. She told me how important it is, and that's kind of what, I'm trying to, maintain. And I'm looking forward to being involved with the frosh team, with the JV team, and and leading the varsity team for the rest of the season.
And then one last thing, this for sure, for real this time. Charlie mentioned USC and Dylan Klein. Noah Roberts is just killing it with USC. They actually play Beck Weber and Aiden Charlton tonight. How different do you think college volleyball is from high school volleyball? In your own words.
In my own words,
sure.
It's a world of difference for most of the athletes. There's some athletes out there that could step right in from high school to college, but the majority of athletes, they have to do what we talked about earlier. You got to sit and watch and learn. It's a growing experience, as I'm sure those names that you mentioned, Noah, Aiden, and Beck, can attest to. It's you have to be patient. You have to put in your time, and that time just isn't sitting idly by. It's you gotta bring that effort. You gotta bring that positive attitude, that winning attitude each day, and all three of those young men have done that, and just I know them even off the court, and just I couldn't be more proud, and I'm so happy for their families to be able to watch their their sons compete at such a high level.
One of the traits that all three of them have is perseverance, which is key for success in life. And they all sat as freshmen and sophomores. They developed, they got better, they worked at it. They're still working at it.
Sure.
And Noah, didn't play, played a little bit. Now all of a sudden he's, as Taryn said, he's kind of the guy and doing a great job. Beck, started a number of games, and Aiden Charlton's doing well as a setter, and it's just the idea that you don't step in and be the star. You're going to have to pay your dues. You're going to have to see what's going on, and then work to maintain that or get to that level.
And Noah had to switch his position going from outside hitter to right side, and that's pretty impressive because before that, Jack Duker was the right side ringer. Now Noah Roberts is shining.
He is, and again, as a friend, I couldn't be more proud of Noah. Watching him compete the other night against UC Santa Barbara was just, it was a thrill for me. It was a thrill for my two boys who I brought. As you mentioned, Liv was there as well. Liv and Noah are, best friends. And, we're just all so proud to see, Noah, thrive in that environment. And, he's doing so well, as we can't wait to go watch Aiden and Beck. And, there's a couple of them as well. I took the whole program to Long Beach State to support Long Beach State men's game. It's about 3 weeks ago.
Not UCLA.
No.
Couldn't get a ticket,
State,
probably.
I think.
Yeah.
Fort Valley State, and then
you amaze me with your memory. It's just amazing. You should be
The answer
court recognized expert. I don't know. That's what. But yeah, there. Jet Estes from Los Alamitos High School. He's at Long Beach now. Nate Baddeley is on the team. And we just went out there. As a program, I think we had almost 100 attendees from a program show up and just kind of root them on. But just knowing that they've made it that far, that's not easy to do. They may have not gotten into the game, but at the same time, they're wearing that uniform out there. They're participating in the warm-ups, and you think behind the scene they're at practices and just working their tail off. And as a coach, I'm proud of those young men.
And they will have played for Long Beach State for the rest of their lives.
That's right.
That's something that stays with you.
You can't take that away from them. Yeah, good point, Charlie.
They're building a legacy. Well, listen, Tony, we appreciate you coming on by. Any other shouts you want to give out before we sign off?
Shout out. Let's give a shout out to you guys for doing such a great job. This is all new to me. I was prepared to come here and just tell you guys I don't have much to say. I don't know how
you were great.
I don't know how interesting this is going to be, but shout out to you gentlemen for keeping this going, especially for the sport of boys and men's volleyball. It means something. It means something for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. And that'll do it for this episode of Sunset Rewind, Boys Volleyball Preview Edition. Thank you again, Tony, for being here. Thank you to Charlie Brand for helping break this whole thing down. Wouldn't want to do this with anyone else. Like I said, I would go to war with you when it comes to the sport of volleyball. Thank you to our man behind the lens, James Krupe, for producing this episode. And also shout out to Cole Menzinger, Max Pickup, and Nate Gervin, part of our Sunset Rewind crew. Make sure to log on to sunsetrewind.com for all things Sunset League sports. We don't just cover volleyball on the boys' side, but we cover volleyball on the girls' side. We cover football, basketball, other spring sports, you name it. We also are on social media, X, Instagram, and TikTok at sunset_rewind. And also make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. We're trying to reach 10,000 subscribers, and with your help, we can definitely make it happen. We appreciate everybody's support, and we appreciate everyone for always tuning in and showing us the love. And take care, everybody.